As we walk in, it brings back memories as we make a return to our original stomping grounds. We visit the old Sands Casino. It's been updated since my last session here, but it still feels like home to me. And just like back then, we waste no time at all as we sit down and immediately hop into the action. The first hand we pick up is pocket tens. We make a raise before the flop, and with no table history, it's enough to get the job done as we drag in our first pot of the night and return our whole cards to the dealer. It always feels good to win the first one, but I can't help but think my sizing was too big and I scared away my potential customers. No time to lick our wounds, as the next hand we pick up is also a pocket pair. One of the smaller variety, but this time we size down, hoping I get a few more players to join me. I've now raised 2 hands in a row, so players just might think I'm splashing around. It's important to build an image early on, and I haven't been to Showdown yet, so I'm sure that sparks some interest. I also like playing smaller pocket pairs just for their simplicity, as sometimes I find it harder to let go of a premium hand on boards when I get outflopped. With lower pocket pairs, it's much easier to set mine and not feel obligated to potentially look my opponent up. And we do get what we asked for, as we get 2 callers. So now we're heading 3 ways to a flop with a juicy pot that we're playing for in the middle. The only thing I'm looking to see now is another 4, preferably on the flop, but turn sets are deadliest in poker, so we wouldn't mind it either way. Luckily it does not come down to that, as we get lit up with a 4 right on the flop. And to make things better, there's also a king on that flop. This is what we like to see, and I know the table is thinking he can't have it every time, so we lead for 1/3 pot, feeling out how strong our opponents are on a draw-heavy board. And to our delight, we do get 2 stragglers along for the ride. And right as we're lining up to clean out everyone's pockets, we get some bad news on the turn as it completes the flush. We don't just give our opponents credit for the flush because the club got there. I do elect to put in a small blocker bet. In case the flush is out there, I'll find out now. And I might just be allowing myself to see a river for a good price that I get to choose. As my opponent thinks about his options, I've already thought about mine. We would be facing a polarizing bet should my opponent make the raise, and I should be able to lay it down if the raise is big enough. If the opponent calls, we could probably rule out a high flush, and I should start putting him on hands like ace-9 with the ace of clubs, or maybe king-queen with the queen of clubs. He does make the call, and we do see a river, which completes my full house. We can rule out being beat by king-king or 9-9, as both of those hands would already be all in, and we could be up against king-9 a small percent of the time, but we don't have enough behind to care all that much, so we do jam, and our opponent folds, and we scoop in the pot. So far, we haven't seen a hand that we didn't like, and we can acknowledge getting hit with the deck, and that does continue as I'm stacking my chips and I get dealt ace, king, offsuit. At this point, we identify the rush, and like Doyle says, we should play the rush and we should optimize on it. So I do make another raise, and we go 4 ways to another favorable flop. We get a great flop on a board that's not very dangerous for our hand. So we lead into 4 players with a $20 bet. This is still the first rotation, and I've already 3-bet pre-flop and led the flop 3 times. So 3 of my opponents decided to keep me honest as we head 3 ways to a turn card. I really would like to believe that I'm just that much better than everyone else on this table, but as you can see, I'm definitely being guided by the cards right now. So I do like any greedy greedster would, and I check to set the trap. Unfortunately, I outplay myself as the players all check behind. Next, I overbet pot and get everyone to lay down their hands. Well played. Well played. The next hand that we play, we look down, and it's a little bit of a deja vu as we pick up the pocket 4s. Now, hitting a set is a 7.5 to 1 on the flop, meaning every 8.5 times you set mine, you'll connect one of those times. It's unlikely, but we are deeper than when we started, so it does sway the implied odds in my favor just a little bit. So when we face a raise of 24 and a call, we're in great position to take a flop and try to make a huge hand, which is exactly what we do. And to our delight, we see some great news as the dealer puts out the ace 9-4 with 2 hearts. So we drill our set on an ace high board. That's a gin flop, and highly likely that one of the 2 pre-flop aggressors have an ace, so we check it over and the initial raiser bets 35. The middle position folds and action is on us, so we elect to slow play, see a turn card, and we get the best turn card in the deck for us, another ace. Now, we check it over to the opponent, who makes a small bet of 35. It's time for us to attack, so we look, we count out our chips, we 4x his bet, and we put it in the pot. And now the opponent goes into the tank. It is worth mentioning that although we have the bottom boat, it is very unlikely that we're beat. There's only one combination of aces available, one combination of ace 4, and 2 combinations of pocket 9s. That's a total of 4 hands that beat us, and the ace of hearts is still unaccounted for. So there could be a multitude of ace X with 1 heart, the ace of hearts in the hand, nearly drawing dead, as well as every other flush draw. If we get called, we're most likely up against the hand like ace king or ace queen, so when my opponent does make the call, we know what we're looking to fade on the river. And he does make the call, which as played looks like ace king or ace queen, and as the dealer slides the chips into the pot, I look over at my opponent who's studying me. The river comes out a king of diamonds. Now, if our initial read is correct, there's a 50% chance he just got there on the river, and I tell this to myself in real time, and I make a huge mistake checking this river. Opponent snap checks back, and our boat is good. What a huge error on my part. I make the mistake all the time, and it's extremely frustrating. You can't be afraid of monsters under the bed, and in low stakes games, you always have to build your own pot. Never try to play sneaky hoping your opponent is going to fire, because in low stakes, they are happy to check down a big pot. That's what he does, and we scoop in the pot knowing that we definitely missed the bet. As we're looking down at the next hand that we play, we almost feel like we could do no wrong as we pick up king jack off. We simply call out of position and take a flop in a very modest sized pot. We can make the raise pre-flop, but we decide to mix it up a little bit, and we connect with this flop in a good way. In fact, I would rather hit the jack as top pair with the king kicker as opposed to hitting the king with the jack kicker, because it's more likely we could be dominated by other hands and we might get sticky and have a hard time letting it go. This is a very wet board with a plethora of straight draw, flush draw, and combo draw opportunities which have very good equity against us, and the pot is small, so we tread lightly, making sure not to inflate this one. The pre-flop aggressor bets 15, 2 players folds, and we call the bet of 15, and we take a turn card heads up, which is exactly where we want to be with our exact hands. Now, I don't have an exact read on what my opponent's holding is just yet, but when the turn comes and we drill a king of spades, it's almost certainly a card that's giving us the effective nuts on this board. Now the opponent down bets to 12, and we say, get that shit out of here, as we raise it up to 30, and our friend makes the call. It's important to note that his bullshit $12 bet, followed by just a $30 call, rules out any hands that have us currently beat. Well, that changes on the river as the entire world comes in. 4-5, Jack 10, Jack 8 with the diamond, every 2 pair, every flush combo. So our hand gets downgraded to a bluff catcher at this point, and it goes check on the river, and we take this one down. Nice modest pot. This hand, we're happy to take it down, and we're happy with the way we played. We scoop in our pot, and we get ready for the next hand. There seems to be a reoccurring theme for this session, and that's repetitive pocket pairs and premium hands. While nearing the end, we pick up the pocket 10s under the gun +1. We raise to 10, hoping we get a few callers and or an isolation raise behind us, which we do get a few callers, and we go 3 ways to a flop of 10, deuce, 3, 2 diamonds. It's actually statistically insane how many times I've flopped the set today while set mining, but here we are, so we lead for 25 and get called by one other player. Not much info on the new player, not sure what he's calling me with, but when the turn comes out, a 7 of diamonds, nothing changes at all. We're still ahead, and I continue to set the trap and check it over to my opponent, who does not disappoint, as he fires 80, a full pot size bet. Now here's where you want to break down his range. It's very unlikely he's holding the ace-10 as we have card removal. It's possible he has a combo draw, or a hand like 8-9 of spades, or a hand like ace-7 of spades. It's unlikely he has any two pair combos, but what about the sets? He can have every set on this board, and since we have top set, we conclude that there's just so many hands in his range that we'll call a jam bet right now, drawing slim, so we shove. And we do get a quick call, and he shows us pocket deuces, drawing dead to just one out. We hold, and in this case, his deuces do loses, as we scoop in a nearly $900 pot. And that's it for us. As we rack up our chips, we head to the cash cage and we cash out, booking a nice win of over $500.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Good session, bro. You too.
This is for my foodies out there. We end the night at the steakhouse and have an excellent victory meal and enjoy a few drinks. The food and the ambiance were perfect, and we enjoyed the entire experience.